We are rolling through the week here at CNN Student News, and we are glad to have you along with us. Hello, everybody. I'm Carl Azus. Charges for a congressman. Law enforcement officials say a member of Congress took almost $500,000 in bribes. Now he's been indicted by a federal jury. A plan for the planet. China is one of the world's worst polluters, but it's working on ways to cut down on greenhouse gases. And a trunk of treasures. An antique bought at a garage sale in Florida holds a lifetime of memories from a World War II soldier. First up today, a member of Congress is accused of taking hundreds of thousands of dollars in bribes. A federal grand jury has indicted or charged Representative William Jefferson with 16 crimes. The Louisiana congressman's lawyer says Jefferson is innocent. But when the FBI raided one of his homes in 2005, they found a lot of money hidden in the freezer. Ms. Callie Arena explains that the cold cash has the lawmaker in the hot seat.
It looked bad. $90,000 allegedly stashed in a freezer at his D.C. home. And according to federal prosecutors, it was. Democratic Congressman William Jefferson now faces charges including racketeering, soliciting bribes, and money laundering. The cold cash was allegedly found by the feds more than 2 years ago. So why did it take so long to indict?
I think if you look at this 94-page indictment and the number and complexity of schemes that are alleged, actually I would argue that we moved pretty quickly here.
Jefferson allegedly asked for millions in bribe money and assets, once even asking for a bribe in a congressional dining room. The government says he scored more than $500,000. He's also accused of bribing a Nigerian official to help broker business deals in Africa. The counts carry a penalty of more than 200 years in prison.
This case is about greed, power, and arrogance.
The probe has already led to guilty pleas by a Kentucky businessman and a former aide to the congressman. Both men are cooperating. The congressman maintains his innocence.
Congressman Jefferson is innocent. He plans to fight this indictment and clear his name.
The probe was hardly a secret. A search of his congressional office sparked an all-out constitutional controversy over whether federal agents could legally raid the offices of a sitting congressman.
There's ways to do it, and my opinion is that they took the wrong path.
That raid remains controversial to this day, and prosecutors still don't have all the documents that were seized. But they think what they do have is more than enough to lock Congressman Jefferson up for a very long time. Kelly Arena, CNN, Washington.
Time for the shout-out. Which one of these is Representative Jefferson's home state? If you think you know it, shout it out. Is it A, B, C, or D? You've got 3 seconds. Go! On this map, C represents Louisiana, and that's where Congressman Jefferson is from. That's your answer, and that's your shout-out.
U.S. forces have been searching for 2 soldiers who disappeared after an ambush in Iraq last month. Now an insurgent group is saying they've been killed. The group has released a video, but we want to point out that CNN cannot verify it. The tape appears to show the soldiers' military ID cards. The U.S. officials say it doesn't give any proof about their status and that they will keep searching for the missing men. The Iraq War claims Chapter 2 of our video yearbook. It factored in heavily in the emails you sent us. Teacher Vicki Franklin wrote that her class thinks that the Iraq War was the most important news story of the year. The Middle Eastern countries saw progress and pain. Former dictator Saddam Hussein was executed in December for crimes against humanity, bringing closure to many Iraqis and calls for revenge from others. Meanwhile, shattering violence continued. Insurgent bombings claimed dozens of lives at a Baghdad university and thousands more throughout the country. And a grim milestone for American troops. Iraq War deaths exceeded 3,000 late last year and continued to rise. Back in the U.S., many Americans had the war on their minds as they voted in last November's midterm elections. They gave Democrats their first majority in both houses of Congress since President Bush was elected. It was a result widely seen as a referendum on how the Iraq War was going, and it installed California Democrat Nancy Pelosi as the first female Speaker of the House, something else you suggested for our video yearbook. Okay, now when it comes to rankings, holding the top spot, usually a pretty good thing. But not when it's a list of the world's worst polluters. And experts say that's exactly where China could be in just a couple years, the #1 nation for greenhouse gas emissions. But as Jaime Florcruz explains, that country is taking steps to avoid the title.
China is one of the worst polluters in the world, and now China has come up with a national plan to help resolve the global warming issue. China pledges to take several measures, but they're all quite modest, and the national plan puts more importance on economic growth. It says that the first and overriding priorities of developing countries are sustainable development and poverty eradication. That's because China believes that economic development is crucial in keeping its social and political stability. So when there's a clash between economic development and environmental protection, then the Chinese officials typically go with GDP growth. 3 decades of rapid industrial growth have fouled China's air, water, and soil. And that's because China relies on coal for around 70% of its energy needs. China is set to overtake the U.S. as the world's largest emitter of greenhouse gases as early as this year. In a national televised press conference, China acknowledged that for the first time. China is still engaged in finger-pointing. China argues that it should be the rich and developing countries like the U.S. who must take the lead, and that they must provide financial and technical assistance to developing countries like China. However, the Chinese minister says there's much still to be done.
It's a lot of thunder, but no rain. In other words, we've heard the words, but haven't seen much action.
Chinese President Hu Jintao is expected to attend the G8 summit this week as an observer. He is expected to be put on the spot with criticisms that China is not doing enough to help combat global warming. Jaime Florcruz, CNN, Beijing.
We are wrapping up our last show of the school year this Friday, but you don't have to wait until the fall to watch CNN Student News. You can check us out every other week over the summer at cnn.com/education. All right, now this is cool. There's a saying that one man's trash is another man's treasure. And if you've ever found a hidden prize at a garage sale maybe, well, you know just what we mean. Mary Costello of Dayton's News Source has this incredible story about a treasure that was lost for more than 60 years and how it finally found its way home.
Lieutenant Ralph Wildenhaus was 21 years old when his plane crashed during World War II. He was buried in Dayton, but all of his possessions, somehow in the last 60 years, lost. Until this trunk showed up at a garage sale 2 weeks ago in St. Petersburg, Florida. Susan Zaffeder and her husband wouldn't be adding it to their antique collection.
Joe and I looked at it for a little while and realized that this was someone's life.
After searching online, Susan found Rosemary Brunn, Ralph's only surviving sister, in Dayton, Ohio. And Thursday, Susan and her husband sent the trunk up north.
I think I'm kind of nervous. My heart was going 100 miles an hour. Bring that trunk in. Bringing that trunk in, yes.
How are you today, ma'am?
Hi, just fine, thank you.
Where would you like me to put this, inside?
Yes. Oh, it's rusty.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness me.
Inside were the things Rosemary had heard about and seen on TV, but now she could hold them in her hand.
Oh, I just don't know what to grab first.
Lieutenant Ralph Wildenhaus died while serving in World War II 64 years ago. But now, Rosemary remembers what it was like to be his little sister.
His life is in there. Yeah. He had a short life, but he lived it well.
And that is where we close the lid on today's CNN Student News. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. I'm Carl Azus, and there is more headline news headed your way.
Oh, I just don't know what to grab first. He lived it well.